Greetings, everyone. This is Ty with Invisible Chess, and I want to talk to everybody about the death of little Tamia Batts. The Black community consists of more than just African American people, but I want to particularly reach out to African Americans because this is something I feel like we have to discuss. Now, Tamia, for those who aren't aware, was this 11-year-old girl who ended up getting killed by her father. What happened was is that she was coming home from school and her father shot her. Now he claimed that it was an accident because she had entered the house and he wasn't accustomed to her coming home that early, and he got up and was looking around the house to try to see who came in, and he had grabbed his gun, and he said that she had startled him and he accidentally pulled the trigger, shot her in the gut, and he rushed her to the hospital, but she died. Now the interesting part about the story is originally he didn't say that. He originally said that she had gotten shot at the bus stop and it came in a house and tried to wake him up to let him know she was shot. And so that was, he lied at first. After an initial investigation, the police were able to determine that she was shot inside the home, not outside like he had claimed. And I guess at that point he figured there was no point in trying to lie anymore about it. Maybe he even felt grieved about it. Maybe, I do believe on some level it may have been a mistake. But here's the thing. Timothy Batts, her father, that's his name, Timothy, the father of Tamia. He was a convicted felon who was convicted on prior drug and gun charges. And I don't know, he got out. The last charge that I read in the media that he had was attempted criminal homicide or something like that. And I think that just came from him shooting at a vehicle. But the point is that he had some drug charges in the past and a lot of other little stuff. So he wasn't like the greatest guy. And I'm not saying that a person can't turn their life around. By a lot of people's accounts, he was trying to, according to them, turn his life around. He was, he had moved away from where he used to stay and was trying to give his daughter a better life and all that. And but what kind of irritates me about this story is that I saw family members and I saw the mother, which is family member, but I saw the mother, obviously, of Timothy, the man who shot his daughter, on the news, and she was just praising her son about how good a father he was and all these things and how the little girl was his world. And I understand, wanting to stand up and say something on behalf of family. But there's this thing within our community where we tend to always run to the aid of people who have done wrong. And it's not just that they've done, everybody makes a mistake, but we tend to put out so much energy for people who consistently do the same things over and over. And it tends to be the most violent and the most, the people who hurt us the most. But we don't see that. We see, I don't know what we see, but we keep doling out for people who keep taking our people away. And some of these guys, and I don't mean to sound so judgmental, because none of us are perfect. We all got problems, but some of these guys, they all they do is knock our women up and put them through the ringer, and then they're in and out of jail, and then they keep crapping all over everything. And all we do is keep bailing them out. That's become the thing, and the reason why this is happening so much. And I know some people are going to call me a coon and all that, but I'm very much pro-black. I'm very much for my people. As much as harsh as that may sound to some people who aren't black, I know people don't like labels like pro-black and all that stuff. But I just have a different way about going about getting the things we need, and I do believe that protests and all that stuff has its place. But there's so many other things that you can do before it gets to that point, and there's so many other things you can do along with protests to help, things that are productive, things that are going to produce real stuff. But we tend to get locked into excessive victimhood. Yes, things happen to us. Yes, the system, the institution is corrupt. Yes, the institution is biased. Yes, all of that. But we can't get to the point where we point a finger at the system so much that we don't want to take accountability for anything that we do. So here's the thing. Timothy Batts knew he wasn't supposed to have a gun, considering all the what he was charged on before, and he disregarded that. He basically went on habit. He went back to his habits. I don't know if he was peddling drugs or doing any other stuff. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to change his life, but one thing that he did do is he committed a crime. He carried a gun when he was not legally, you know, authorized to have one, because of the crimes he had committed in the past. He was forbidden. Now there are people who do get their gun rights back after, have been charged and sometimes haven't been convicted of a crime, and either they got a pardon or they appealed a case, they got something overturned, and they were able to get certain things happen, or somehow they were able to get something expunged, which is, usually if a crime is serious and you did some time, even with getting something overturned, that takes a lot of work to do to get something expunged. I'm not too familiar, but I know it's hard to get certain things expunged. Some things can't ever be expunged. But there's a process for getting voting rights and gun rights and all that stuff back, and you have to go through it. And he didn't go through that, and probably with the convictions he had, he couldn't go through it. I mean, this guy was in the past, he was very violent. So that kind of takes away your right to have certain weapons. And he completely disregarded that and decided that he was going to do what he wanted to do anyway. And that helped lead to the death of his daughter. Maybe he did wake up and thought somebody was breaking in the house. But here's the thing. If he hadn't had that gun, she wouldn't have died. And it's not about persecuting the gun. It's about the fact that he was a violent felon. He was prohibited from having one, and he got one anyway. And so she paid the price because he couldn't follow the rules. And I understand some people don't like the rules. They think the rules are, whatever they think the rules are. But there are certain people within our communities who have proven to be a threat to us, to you, to me, to businesses. One of the reasons, there's many reasons why you don't see a lot of black-owned businesses in some places sometimes, or if you do see them, they don't hire a lot of other black people, or they're businesses that mostly have to do with services. You don't see a lot of businesses that would have cash on hand, and that's because the neighborhoods are so dangerous in certain areas that to have a business like that is a risk. I grew up in a community where black businesses were everywhere because I grew up in an agriculture town. But when I moved later on in my life, when I moved closer towards the city, I saw what people had to grow up in. And I didn't have much when I was growing up, but looking at how they were living, it was crazy. And the thing that I saw over time was that those people, the environment is so crime ridden that having a store open is almost a death sentence. At some point in your life, you're going to get robbed a couple times. You just can only hope you don't get shot and killed. Not yesterday, the day before yesterday, the neighborhood that I'm staying in now. Well, not the neighborhood I'm staying in now, but a neighborhood that I did stay in before the neighborhood that I'm staying in now. It was a peaceful neighborhood, nice suburban area, mostly black area. But what was happening over the years is a lot of people were moving in or trying to escape whatever life they had in the larger city, which was, that urban area. And they were trying to run out into the suburbs. And that's what happens. They try to flee out into the suburbs. And some of them, some of them are decent people, but then some of them they got family members or friends or whatever that's not on the up and up or whatnot. Or people who live in those, what I really think happened, because I've seen certain things. People who live in the more urbanized area, they see where the homes are, where the property owners are, and those are the places that they are now starting to target for stuff like that. So one of the neighborhood 7-Elevens that I remember when I used to live in one of the older neighborhoods I used to live in, there was a robbery and the clerk got killed. And that shocked the whole community there, because I previously lived in that particular area for years, And to see that somebody, the clerk had got shot at one of our community shops was insane. We used to think that that was something that would only happen out in the really urban areas, but nonetheless, it happened. So what I'm saying is that the criminal behavior and conduct, the stuff that has become so pervasive and has invaded our culture, what it's doing is it's eroding any trust that we have in each other, so that we're scared to do business with each other. It's to the point to where you don't want to set up shop to do anything, or the people who are out there hustling and doing cash business usually happen to be those type of guys, the guys that they live a dangerous life, and or people who don't, they only deal with people they know, but half the time they're carrying a gun or doing whatever because they know that it's dangerous being out there where they are. You shouldn't have to live like that. And that's what happens when you make the area so dangerous that people are scared to go outside. There's no more playgrounds. There's only play areas. There's a little fenced in area for kids because the drug dealers back in the 90s used to try to sell drugs to kids all the time, so they had to make the playground smaller and put fences around them. This is how this stuff got that way. It gets worse and worse and worse every day, and it's starting to basically overlap and leave those heavily urban areas and crawl out into the suburbs, because those areas are high densities. Too many people living in those places, not enough resources, and they're spilling out into everybody else's area. And this is a problem for us as black folks. Those who can and are paying taxes and are doing whatever, we have to protect what we have, because the other group of folk, they don't care.